There's a mysterious story that circulates among certain theological circles, one that speaks of a prophetic figure known as Pope Leo XIV. While this pope has not yet existed in the history books, many mystics believe he represents a future pontiff, one who will rise in times of spiritual darkness to reveal profound truths hidden for centuries. Among the whispers surrounding his name, one claim stands out. If you possess any of these three things, you have already been blessed. But what could these three things possibly be? Holiness, charity, a secret knowledge of heaven? Let me ask you something. Have you ever gone through something painful and wondered if there was a deeper meaning behind it? Have you ever felt peace in the middle of chaos, or found the strength to forgive someone who hurt you deeply? If you answered yes to any of those, then perhaps you are already among the spiritually favored. This video is not just about a curious prophecy or a mystical saying attributed to a future pope. It's about recognizing the hidden signs of grace already present in your life. And what makes this reflection even more powerful is that it is rooted in the spiritual wisdom of one of the most beloved saints of modern times, Padre Pio of Pietrelcina, a man who bore the stigmata, who conversed with souls from purgatory, who knew the confessions of strangers before they spoke. Padre Pio often said that most people walk through life blind to the signs God is giving them. They wait for lightning bolts, when sometimes the holiest things are quiet, hidden, almost ordinary. Today, through the lens of Pope Leo XIV's prophetic message and Padre Pio's deep spiritual insight, we will uncover the three unmistakable signs that you are already walking in divine favor, even if you don't realize it. Some of these signs might surprise you. They don't come wrapped in halos or visions. Instead, they are forged in pain, in silence, in sacrifice. So before we begin, pause and ask yourself, what if the suffering, the silence, the longing you've endured wasn't a curse, but a sign of grace? Let's begin this journey, not to become saints one day, but to recognize where God is already working within us today. The first sign that you may already be living in the grace of God is the ability to forgive completely, especially when forgiveness feels impossible. Forgiveness is not simply a polite gesture. In the Christian life, it is a supernatural act. Jesus didn't suggest forgiveness, he commanded it. In Matthew 18:22, when Peter asked if forgiving 7 times was enough, Jesus responded, I tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. This wasn't a number, it was a symbol of limitless mercy. But let's be honest, forgiveness can be agonizing, especially when the wounds are deep. Betrayal, humiliation, abuse. And yet, when someone finds the strength to release resentment, something divine happens in their soul. It becomes more than human. It becomes Christ-like. One of the most powerful examples of this comes not from Scripture alone, but from the life of Padre Pio himself. In 1923, he was accused falsely by members of the church of faking his stigmata. He was forbidden from publicly celebrating Mass and hearing confessions. His reputation was damaged by people he trusted. And yet, he never retaliated. He once said quietly to a friend, God sees everything, I only want to love. That wasn't weakness, it was the strength of a soul anchored in heaven. Today, psychologists have begun to uncover what the saints knew centuries ago. A 2022 study published by the Catholic University of Milan found that practicing forgiveness reduces stress, improves immune function, and increases lifespan. But science cannot explain the mystery behind the peace that comes when you forgive, not just with words, but from the heart. It's a spiritual breakthrough, and according to the prophecy linked to Pope Leo XIV, it is one of the clear signs of hidden beatitude. Why? Because forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it mirrors the mercy of God. It reflects the cross, and the cross is the only true measure of love. Have you forgiven someone who never apologized? Have you chosen peace over revenge? Then you carry within you a mark that cannot be seen, but is known in heaven. And here's the truth many ignore. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about your soul. It's not about forgetting, but about freeing yourself from the poison of hate. If you've ever forgiven in silence, cried in secret, and still wished well to the one who hurt you, then maybe, just maybe, you've already touched the edge of sainthood. And that is not an exaggeration, it is a spiritual fact. The second sign that you may already be counted among the blessed is something the world cannot give and cannot understand: inner peace during suffering. This peace is not the absence of problems. It's not what people feel when everything is going well. No, this kind of peace comes exactly when everything falls apart, and yet your heart remains still. It's the peace that Jesus himself spoke about in John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled. To understand how profound this is, we need to make a distinction. There is emotional peace, which can come from rest, comfort, or security. But the peace of God is spiritual. It's not based on external conditions, but on an internal conviction that God is in control, even when nothing makes sense. Let's look at Padre Pio once again. During the Second World War, his monastery in San Giovanni Rotondo was under threat. People feared bombings, families lost their loved ones, many came to him in despair, and yet Padre Pio remained serene. He would often whisper, "Pray, hope, and don't worry." Not because he didn't care, but because his peace came from a deeper place. Trust. He wasn't immune to pain. He suffered from illness, the weight of souls, and even the church's restrictions. But his peace wasn't based on escaping the cross. It came from embracing it. Today, we live in a world dominated by anxiety. According to the World Health Organization, nearly 300 million people globally suffer from anxiety disorders, and that number continues to grow, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. We are surrounded by fear of death, failure, loneliness, and rejection. That's why someone who remains calm, joyful, and spiritually grounded during a storm is not normal. It is supernatural. It is a mark of grace. Have you ever faced a moment where you should have broken, but didn't? A time when grief knocked on your door, but instead of losing your mind, you fell to your knees in prayer? That's the kind of peace we're talking about. If you carry this peace, even when life hurts, then according to the spiritual tradition, you are already living a foretaste of heaven. And it's not because you're strong, it's because God is living in you. That kind of peace is not achieved, it's received. If storms have come and you've remained still, then this second sign may already rest quietly in your soul. The third and most misunderstood sign that a soul is deeply blessed is the willingness to suffer, not with complaint but with love. In a world that runs from discomfort, the idea of embracing pain sounds almost irrational. Society teaches us to chase comfort, avoid hardship, and eliminate anything that causes distress. But in the spiritual life, suffering is not meaningless. In fact, according to the saints, it is one of the most powerful tools of union with Christ. This concept isn't about glorifying pain. It's about understanding that when offered to God, pain becomes redemptive. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, in paragraph 6 and 18, reminds us, by his passion and death on the cross, Christ has given a new meaning to suffering. It can henceforth configure us to him and unite us with his redemptive passion. Among those who lived this truth most fully was Padre Pio. He didn't just accept suffering, he desired it, not for the pain itself, but as a way to share in Christ's sacrifice. From 1918 until his death in 1968, he bore the visible wounds of Jesus, the stigmata, for 50 years. He called suffering his most precious gift because it allowed him to help souls. In a letter to his spiritual director, he once wrote, "I want to suffer, even to die of suffering, if it would convert a single soul." These are not poetic words. They were the heartbeat of a man in deep union with God. And yet this sign isn't only for saints with stigmata. It reveals itself in the quiet choices of ordinary people. The mother who carries her cross in silence for her family. The young man who accepts humiliation without bitterness. The elderly person who offers up their pain instead of falling into despair. According to a 2021 Vatican pastoral study, only 12% of Catholics regularly offer their daily trials and sufferings in prayer. Most see pain as a curse, not as a spiritual currency. But what if every struggle you face, when accepted with love, becomes a prayer? If you have ever whispered, "Jesus, this is for you," in the middle of a sleepless night, or embraced discomfort instead of escaping it, you are already walking in the footsteps of the crucified. This desire to suffer out of love is not natural. It is a gift, a flame placed in your heart that burns quietly without applause. And if you have felt this urge to offer your struggles silently for the salvation of others, then you carry within you a mark invisible to the world, but unmistakable. In heaven, there is a kind of holiness the world never notices. It doesn't glow, it doesn't wear robes. It walks through life quietly, carrying invisible crosses, whispering prayers no one hears, and loving souls who never say thank you. This is the holiness that Jesus spoke of in the Sermon on the Mount, when he said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who mourn." Matthew 5:3-5. These aren't the attributes the world applauds, and yet they are the signs that echo in eternity. Too often we associate sainthood with miracles, visions, or great public acts, but the lives of the saints show us something deeper. God hides his greatest treasures in silence. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux called it the little way. Padre Pio lived it behind the walls of a monastery. And perhaps you're living it now without even realizing. The prophecy attributed to Pope Leo XIV doesn't describe external success or public recognition. It speaks of three internal realities: the ability to forgive without revenge, the presence of peace in crisis, and the desire to suffer out of love. These aren't visible to the crowds, but they are unmistakable to heaven. And that's the fourth truth we must understand. You don't need to be seen to be known by God. Think of the thousands of hidden souls, grandmothers praying the rosary for their families in silence, janitors offering each task as a sacrifice, widows going to daily mass with no one to talk to. Their names aren't printed in books, but they are etched in the heart of God. In 2016, during a homily at Casa Santa Marta, Pope Francis said, "There are many hidden saints. They are unknown to us, but not to God. They live among us, silently, offering their lives in love." So if you've wondered whether your simple, quiet life has value in heaven, the answer is yes. If you've ever felt invisible, yet continued to do good, if you've been misunderstood but remained faithful, then you may already be living the signs of someone chosen. Holiness is not noise, it is not status, it is fidelity, moment by moment, especially when no one is watching. And perhaps that's what Pope Leo XIV's message truly means. If you carry even one of these three sacred signs, then heaven already calls you blessed, because God sees what no one else sees. Maybe you came to this video expecting a list. Maybe you thought it would be about rules or checkboxes, something easy to measure. But what you found here is something much more personal, a mirror. Because these three signs, the ability to forgive when it hurts, the peace that doesn't make sense, and the desire to suffer out of love, aren't performances. They are signs of transformation. Quiet proof that God is already moving in your life. And here's the truth. Many people spend their whole lives looking for proof that they are loved by God. They search for miracles, for signs in the sky, for voices in the wind. But sometimes, the greatest sign is right inside your heart. Not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. Think for a moment. Have you let go of pain without revenge? Have you stayed calm in the middle of fear? Have you ever offered your struggle in silence for someone else's salvation? Then, according to the tradition echoed by Pope Leo XIV and the wisdom passed on by saints like Padre Pio, you are not far from heaven. You are already living in the shadow of the divine. And maybe no one has ever told you that before. But now you know the world won't always recognize this kind of holiness. That's okay. It was never about the world. Holiness begins when we stop needing recognition and start choosing God in the secret places of our lives. That's where the saints are formed, not on stages, but in kitchens, in sickbeds, in quiet, tears and whispered prayers. So if this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't let it stop here. Let it push you forward. Let it remind you that God is closer than you think, that grace might already be shaping you without you even realizing. You are not forgotten. You are not lost. You are seen. And now it's your turn to help someone else. Realize it too. Leave a comment telling us which of the 3 signs touched your heart. Like this video if it gave you even a moment of peace or clarity. Share it with a friend, a parent, or someone who needs to know that their quiet efforts are not in vain. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more reflections that bring faith to life, rooted in truth and guided by the wisdom of Padre Pio and the Church. You never know, your small action today might be the sign someone else has been praying for. We'll see you in the next video. God bless you, always.